Uncertainty in Germany and weeks, if not months, of protracted negotiations to decide the makeup and shape of the country's next government. The centre-left Social Democrats, the SDP, and their leader Olaf Scholz had a narrow victory over the party of Angela Merkel, the centre-right Christian Democrats, now led by Armin Laschet. The Greens had a good election. They could be kingmakers in a future coalition. But will it be Scholz or Laschet who take the reins of power from Mrs Merkel? Our Europe editor Tony Connolly joins me from Berlin, where, Tony, these provisional results are in. Will you bring us up to date on the story so far in this change election?
Yes, Mary. The Social Democrats, according to the first official provisional result, are on 25.7%. So that's a clear margin of victory over the Christian Democrats, who are on 24.1%. That's the CDU with their sister party, the CSU from Bavaria. So that's a narrow but fairly clear win for Olaf Scholz and the SPD, who have been out of power for so long, and even back as recently as April, we're on around 14 or 15%. So this has been an extraordinary turnaround for that party. As you say, the Greens have done very well, 14.8%. That's nearly doubling their vote from 2017, although earlier in the campaign they'd hoped to be a good bit higher. And then the third party that will probably form part of a coalition is the FDP. That's the Free Democrats, Liberal Free Democrats. They're on 11.5%. But the real story of the night was the fact that the exit polls had put both two big parties neck and neck. So it was a very nervous evening for SPD supporters in Berlin when I spoke to them last night about how they were feeling. At this point, it still wasn't clear if they would win, so we can hear now from some supporters in Berlin.
We come from a very low point, and we didn't expect anything, and then in the last 3 months it goes up, and we were just, what's happening now? But I think the party did a great job in doing the campaign, and they stood together, and it's not normal for the SPD.
Do you think that Olaf Scholz still has a mandate to become Chancellor?
Yes, sure. I think so, because the CDU lost as a leading party, and with its Chancellor for the last 16 years, I think it's done.
What's your initial reaction this evening? It's very close.
It is a very close race, and the night will be very long. And the numbers are changing in favor of the SPD, the Social Democratic Party. I'm a candidate of the Social Democratic Party, and I am looking forward to the final results, and they will be good, I hope.
Why do you think the gap narrowed the way it did? Because the party was doing well in the polls for a few weeks?
I have no answer for that right now. We'll have to analyze that in the days to come. But I'm happy that the numbers are changing now.
And you're confident that Olaf Scholz has a mandate to become Chancellor, form a government?
Definitely.
I think it's exciting. We're looking forward, and I hope we run. So I'm a member of the parliament in Berlin, and we hope we win this evening for the Labour Party.
Berliners talking there to Tony, who's still with us. As you say, Tony, the margin is tight. But if Olaf Scholz is most likely now to be the next Chancellor of Germany, what can you tell us about him and about the style of government he'll usher in?
Yes, Olaf Scholz is from Hamburg. He's the former mayor of Hamburg and was the vice-chancellor in the outgoing Grand Coalition and the finance minister. So he is known around Europe. He's been on the scene for quite some time. He's 63 years old, plain-spoken, unflashy. Again, those were his characteristics that he was promoting the most in the election, and certainly opinion polls have shown that he would be the favourite choice to be Chancellor. His policy is Social Democrat. He wants to raise the minimum wage to €12. He wants to make Germany a leading exporter of green technology. But he is of the business end of his party. He would support the constitutional debt break in Germany. And the question is, who would he go into power with? And it looks likely that the Greens and the Free Democrats will be really contending for those two other positions within a coalition. It is still theoretically possible for the CDU to form a government. Armin Laschet has said that he still will try and do that, but certainly the moral authority is with Olaf Scholz in forming a government. And I think it's interesting to note that both the Greens and the FDP have said that they will talk to each other first to try and get their platform, their joint platform, ready before they enter talks with the SPD and theoretically the CDU as well.
I know, Tony, the CDU and Armin Laschet, they haven't conceded defeat yet, as you say. But this election has been a real body blow for the party of Angela Merkel. It's brought them to their worst result, I think their worst electoral performance ever.
Yeah, it has been a terrible result for the CDU. It's their, as you say, it's their worst result since the Second World War, and of course, a lot of these parties emerged from the Second World War, the post-war era. It was a calamitous campaign for Armin Laschet. I mean, he was gaffe prone during the campaign. He was eventually personified a party that seemed to have run out of ideas, and even when he cast his vote yesterday, he had folded the paper the wrong way so that you could see who he voted for, and that's potentially going to invalidate your vote. So that seemed to be emblematic of the difficult campaign he had. But a lot of people really feel that while they admired Chancellor Merkel and while she still had approval ratings of around 80% when the election was called, that people did want change, and they felt that perhaps Germany had stagnated under Angela Merkel's reign, even though she steered the country through a lot of crises and, of course, the European Union as well. But she did manage to get out and support Armin Laschet in the last days of the campaign, and I think that's why you saw this swing back towards the CDU, meaning that the result was a lot more narrow than I think the SPD would have wanted.
How unsettling a time is this for Germany after 16 years of Angela Merkel? There were voters going to the polls this time, something like 2 million of them, who had never known another chancellor.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be very unsettling for a lot of reasons. You know, psychologically, she's no longer in the chancellery. It's the first time we're going to have a three-way coalition that will have implications for legislation. There are big problems coming down the tracks for Germany. They have to decarbonize the economy, which is, as we know, is a heavily industrial economy. It's very dependent on exports, and the whole question of supply chains are affecting Germany acutely at the moment. There are pension issues coming up in the mid-2020s. And overall, the European Union is going to be looking at the question of the fiscal rules after the pandemic. Should they be relaxed? Should they be rewritten? And if you have a coalition with the SPD, the Greens, and the Liberal Democrats, the Free Democrats, that's going to be a difficult circle to square for them, because they come at these questions from different angles. So there is going to be a period of uncertainty, but Olaf Scholz says he can get a coalition together by Christmas, and certainly the numbers are there for him if he can convince the Greens and the FDP to join him.
Some hard bargaining ahead though, Tony. Will the talks get underway immediately? How does that work?
The talks should get underway immediately. This morning, the SPD is going to issue a statement around 11 o'clock local time, and then in the afternoon they will give a news conference. So we'll hear then from them as to how they expect to approach the coalition building question. A lot of focus will be on the CDU, whether they do concede defeat or whether they still try and form a government. That's still a question that remains unanswered. But then the coalition talks will start soon. But as I say, it looks like the Greens and the FDP will get together first to roll the pitch for their particular policy platform, and then see which of the two big parties they can fit in with.
In the meantime, Angela Merkel will continue as caretaker chancellor. Have you heard from her yet? Has she spoken since that early provisional result? Something over 2 hours ago now?
No, she hasn't spoken yet. We're waiting to hear from both camps to those latest provisional official results. But theoretically, yes, it looks likely that Angela Merkel will be Chancellor, the caretaker Chancellor, for some time. So that means she could still be attending, or she will still be attending European Council summits in Brussels in October and possibly even December. But again, Olaf Scholz seems fairly confident that he can get a coalition together by Christmas.
Tony, for now in Berlin, thank you very much.